So I'm making pancakes. It's an eggless recipe because I don't really like to eat eggs right now. I only like store-bought eggs, and since we have eggs straight from the pan, it's like I'm not going to eat those eggs. So I made this particular recipe, and it's interesting. I mean, it has 1 cup of flour, it has a teaspoon of water, it has a cup of milk, it has a teaspoon of bicarb soda, it's got a teaspoon of cinnamon, it's got 2 tablespoons of butter, and then you just whisk it all together and put it in a pan. In the picture, the recipe looks pretty fluffy, but they did say they put 2 teaspoons of bicarb soda, not 1. So maybe mine won't come out as fluffy because it had 1 teaspoon, and then it said, but I put 2, and there's on the picture it came out really fluffy. But I'm cooking mine for the first time. It's not really coming out fluffy, but it looks like it might be edible. Just have to wait for it to cook properly. I haven't had pancakes for a while, and I was like, may as well try this recipe. I've also put a little extra butter on the pan because it said to melt the butter in the pan. Put the melted butter in the recipe, and then cook it in the pan. And since I didn't melt the butter in the pan, so this one isn't coming out very well. Since I didn't melt the butter in the pan, I melted it in the microwave. This is a little microwave dish that I melted the butter in. I figured better put a little bit extra butter in there. So this is the first one. It didn't really come out very well. It looks like a mess. So I'll just get rid of that and try again and wait for it to cook this time. So here we go, another scoop. Gotta try and get this right. Alright, so there we go. It's cooking. So I'll just taste some of this while it's cooking. It tastes okay. It tastes quite pancakey. Oh, and there was also a quarter of a teaspoon of, half a teaspoon of salt in there too. So it tastes quite pancakey. It has a good amount of butter. Tastes a little buttery. I only wish I had maple syrup to go with it, but this one isn't really cooked that well. The others will be better cooked. As I said, this one's dumb. I'm sorry, I got rid of it. It also has a quarter of a teaspoon of vanilla essence, which I put in there. And that you can actually taste it quite well. But my relatives, though, they don't like vanilla essence, and they've always put Southern Comfort in pancakes instead. That tastes really, really nice, but it's up to you whether you like alcohol or spirits in your food for breakfast. Not everyone likes that kind of thing. If you don't, then vanilla essence does quite well. Maybe that's what it was there for. It's like, gotta get adults to stop putting alcohol in their foods. It's bad for their kids. And so they invented vanilla essence to have like a Swedish addition to your cooking that can replace the tasty alcohol. I mean, that could have made a movement because people used to drink more than what they do, and I can imagine that being the reason why something like vanilla essence was created. But it's probably, I would have to look that up on the internet, but I could imagine like people doing that before they invented vanilla essence, putting alcohol in food, because alcohol's always been a thing. So this one's coming out a little bit better. It helps when you actually wait for it to cook. So, but it's actually quite a small pancake, so I might make a bit of a larger one. But like I said, the pancakes on the recipe in the picture were quite fluffy, and these ones are not. So I don't know, maybe you need to put a bit of yeast in it or something to make it a little more fluffy, because it's pretty flat. But generally, if you want to have pancakes and you don't want to have it with eggs, I mean, these will do. I mean, pancakes is really just like a fried bread in a way. It's like just fried flour that has been turned into a mix. So yeah. So this one I just turned in the pan rather than do the circle thing with the back of the ladle. So this one looks like it might be a little fluffier, so maybe it's the way you pour it in the pan and distribute the pancake itself, and it looks a little larger. So this is the size of the other one, and I scraped the ladle at the back on the back to distribute the mixture to widen it. And this is the one that I just took the handle and did a circle in the pan. So it looks a little bit fluffier, but I don't know, it essentially looks like a pretty flat pancake. So if you do the circle big enough, it might be a good crepe mixture. But they're cooking quite nicely. I do try to speed up the essence of the cook, but I mean, you cook it until it's a little golden brown, so. But I get very impatient, so I flip it, and then when I flip it, it's only just cooked. Like, this color isn't really cooked. I'll have to flip it back over if I want it cooked properly. But I grow impatient. I always want it to hurry up and cook. So aside from this, I kind of want to make also egg-free muffins. I wouldn't mind trying egg-free lasagna as well. That might be fun. I haven't really tried many recipes because I always feel like I'm not the best cook in the world, and I might screw it up, and then everyone will be like, why'd you waste all our food to make something that is kind of crappy and inedible kind of attitude. So I mean, cooking for me, it's more like an experiment than a hobby, and and I'm like, I'm not really well practiced. I grew up without using recipes because I was on a special diet for around 10 years, and and then, you know, other times we're cheap and we don't want to spend a lot of money, and so ingredients cost quite a bit of money, but it's just like, you know, instead of using a lot of money, we would just like do the basic essentials and not cook things that might cost a little bit to make. So it's like, instead of cooking the world's tastiest things from scratch, it's like, oh, we're just going to cook the easier food or the less expensive food to make from scratch. And we didn't really follow many recipes because we're just making basically sauces with rice or sauces with pasta or something, and salad, you know. And so we didn't really essentially need a recipe for those things. And it's like, but we haven't tried making cakes, and we haven't tried making anything fun. So recipe following is kind of something I'm not really that well practiced at. This is the biggest one so far. It almost covers the base of the pan there. But these ones are quite thin. It's not really an exceptionally thick pancake, but it'll do. It'll do if you want to have a pancake. like I did today. It's like, it'll do for a pancake, but it's not the thickest. So maybe you do want to make like the biggest pancake you can make, and then you call it a crepe. I was like, look at me, I made a crepe pancake. So I've made almost 3. I've probably got a couple more left in the mixture. So we're almost done with this one. Got another couple to go. I was trying to stretch this one out to the whole pan, and I just ended up with a spiky thing up there. So essentially, if it had finished, it might make kind of a heart shape, but it only goes so far before you cannot spread the mix anymore. So I tossed it a little early, and I ended up putting a rip in there. So I just used the rest of the mix, and I got my pan-wide pancake. So this is the biggest one yet. It's showing what you should be seeing when you're cooking much better. So this is a better size. If I were making this recipe again, and if I were having other people, I would double it, and I would also make it crepe-like, like this kind of size. So you need to use a little bit more mixture, but it's a little bit better when it's a bit bigger. Then people can say, oh, what a lovely crepe you've made. And then I can say, yeah, I know, it's an egg-free recipe. So when eating these pancakes, I often need a glass of milk, because often, I don't know, you need a drink, and so plain milk usually is best, or tea. I also have a pretty limited range of spreads, so usually I do like maple syrup, but since we don't have that and we don't have jam, I put cream cheese, I put honey, and hazelnut spread. So they'll have to do. I usually do put pancakes in the oven to keep warm while I'm cooking, but I didn't today, so I'm going to heat it up in the microwave. It basically needs like 10, 20, or 30 seconds. I might do it 10 to 15 seconds. So I did 20 seconds for this one. So I'm not going to put butter on because it had butter in the recipe, but usually I do put butter, but I couldn't be bothered today. So the first one, some hazelnut spread. I dabbed a little bit of cream cheese in there, but not very much. So I'm basically going to eat this like you eat a, what do you call it, a quesadilla or something? It's nice, but it's a little bit undercooked. It probably should have been cooked until a little more crispy, more like this color. The cream cheese gave it a bit of a sourness, but didn't really do it justice. Honey.